Welcome to Cozy Dream Tales, where every word is a whisper of magic and every story a journey to a realm of enchantment. As the sun dips below the horizon, casting hues of orange and pink across the sky, and the world begins to quieten, it's time to journey into the realm of dreams with another enchanting tale from Cozy Dream Tales. Close your eyes, dear listeners, and let the gentle whispers of the wind outside your window lull you into a state of tranquility. Picture, if you will, the village of Frostweaver, nestled snugly amid the snow-covered landscape of Scandinavia, where the air is crisp and the night is alive with the promise of magic. In this serene setting, where the boundaries between reality and myth blur, a young girl named Freyja embarks on an extraordinary adventure, one that will transport you to the heart of ancient legends and the brink of destiny. So, snuggle beneath your blankets, let the soft glow of your bedside lamp guide you into the depths of your imagination, and join us as we embark on a journey filled with wonder, courage, and the timeless allure of Frostweaver, the Saga to Avert Ragnarok. Chapter 1: Awakening of the Frostweaver in the frozen heart of Scandinavia, where the snow blankets the earth like a white sea. The village of Frostweaver lay nestled between towering pines. The villagers, hardened by the cold and descendants of old Norse blood, were no strangers to the whims of nature. Yet, even they huddled closer when the winds began to howl with a new ferocity, whispering of impending doom. Among these villagers was a young girl named Freyja, with hair as silver as moonlight and eyes like the clear, icy fjords. That night, as the blizzard raged stronger than years past, something miraculous occurred. The winds, which had thrown even the mightiest warriors into despair, seemed to dance around Freyja, gentle as a lullaby. Unbeknownst to her, the storm was not just a storm, it was a calling. As the villagers fought to reinforce their homes against the gale, Freyja stepped outside, drawn by a voice only she could hear. It spoke in the crunch of snow underfoot, in the whistle between the icicles. Freyja, it called. Freyja, daughter of the frost. Freyja, both frightened and awed, felt a surge of warmth despite the biting cold. She extended her hands, and the snowflakes swirled around her, settling on her palms before melting away. It was then she realized she was not merely being buffeted by the blizzard. She was part of it. Her mother, Astrid, found her moments later, standing serene amid a whirlwind of snow. "Freyja," she exclaimed, her voice fraught with both fear and wonder. "What are you doing? Come inside, child." But before she could pull Freyja back, she too noticed the unnatural calm around her daughter. The snow around Freyja didn't touch her. It spun in a delicate orbit, as if respecting a silent command. Astrid's eyes widened, with a mixture of recognition and dread. "The legend," she whispered. That night, by the firelight, Astrid revealed the truth. Freyja was descended from a lineage of ancient mystics, bound to the Norse gods. These Frostweavers, as they were known, possessed the rare ability to command the winter's might. "It is both a gift and a burden," Astrid said, her eyes reflecting the flames. "For with great power comes great responsibility and danger." Freyja listened, her heart pounding like the drum of storm. She felt the weight of her destiny settle upon her young shoulders, a destiny that was inexplicably tied to the forces that now raged outside their door. As the storm subsided, leaving behind a silence that resonated with newfound meaning, Freyja knew her life had changed forever. The whispers of the blizzard had awakened something within her, a power ancient as the land itself and as profound as the sagas sung by her ancestors. And thus began the Saga of Freyja, the last of the Frostweavers, destined to face a prophecy that threatened the very fabric of the world. The morning after the whispering blizzard, Freyja awoke to a world transformed. The village of Fristgard shimmered under a cover of frost that glinted like a million tiny stars. As she stepped outside, the chill that once bit at her skin now caressed it like an old friend. It was as if the very essence of winter acknowledged her as one of its own. Freyja's grandmother, Ira, awaited her in the garden, where the frost seemed to paint intricate patterns at her command. Ira, a wizened woman with the same silver hair and piercing blue eyes as Freyja, was the keeper of their family's lore and the last Frostweaver before Freyja. "Come, child," Ira beckoned, her voice both gentle and grave. "It is time you learn the extent of your heritage. The first frost marks your awakening, but control is the mastery you must seek." Under the watchful eyes of her grandmother, Freyja began to learn the ancient arts of the Frostweavers. Ira taught her to harness the chill in the air, to shape the ice with nothing but her will, and to listen to the whispers of the snow. Each breath Freyja took seemed to draw the cold into her, filling her with a power that was immense and exhilarating. "Feel the ice in your veins, Freyja," Ira instructed as they stood by a frozen pond. "Let it flow through you, but do not let it consume your warmth. Balance is the key." With a tentative thought, Freyja extended her hand, and the ice across the pond rippled outward from beneath her fingertips, forming delicate swirls and fractals that sparkled under the weak winter sun. Her joy was palpable, a laugh escaping her lips that sounded like the tinkling of icicles in the wind. However, with power came responsibility, and Ira's next words were tinged with solemnity. "You must understand, Freyja, that this power can bring both creation and devastation." The ancient Frostweavers were not merely artists of ice, they were guardians against the darkness that seeks to envelop this world. It was on one such afternoon of learning and practice that the guardian of the runes found them. He appeared without a sound, his presence like a sudden drop in temperature. Clad in robes that shimmered like northern lights, the guardian bore the mark of the old gods, his eyes alight with the knowledge of centuries. "Freyja, daughter of the frost," he addressed her with a formal bow. "The time has come for you to learn of your true purpose. The prophecy of the end of days, Ragnarok, looms near, and you, child, are at its heart." The revelation struck Freyja like a shard of ice piercing through her soul. The playful swirls on the pond shattered as her focus faltered, reflecting her sudden fear. Ira stepped forward, her hand resting reassuringly on Freyja's shoulder. "We knew this day would come," she said quietly. "The runes do not lie, and your power is the key to preventing the twilight of the gods." As the sky above darkened with the promise of another storm, Freyja realized that her journey was just beginning. The first frost had indeed awakened her, but it was the frost of destiny, and it would lead her far beyond the snowy borders of Fristgard. The guardian of the runes, a figure both awe-inspiring and daunting, stood before Freyja and Ira, his eyes reflecting the tumultuous skies above. "I am Haldor," he introduced himself, his voice echoing the solemnity of ancient stones, "chosen by the gods to guide the Frostweaver towards her destiny." Inside their modest wooden cottage, as the wind howled its ancient songs, Haldor unfolded the prophecy. He laid before Freyja a scroll marked with runes that shimmered with a faint, mystical light. "These runes speak of Ragnarok, the doom of the gods and the world alike. But within this dark foretelling, there lies a strand of hope, woven by the hands of a Frostweaver." Freyja listened, her heart heavy with the burden of her newfound purpose. "What must I do?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. The artifacts of the Norse gods, scattered across the realms, must be united to prevent the breaking of the world, Haldor explained. Each artifact holds a fragment of the gods' powers, capable of altering the course of fate itself. Era, understanding the gravity of their task, added, "The journey will be perilous, filled with trials that will test not just your power, but your heart and spirit." Freyja's resolve hardened like the ice she wielded. "I will do whatever it takes," she declared, her determination crystallizing. "Tell me, Haldor, where do I begin?" The first artifact, the Horn of Heimdall, resides within the forgotten temple of Jotunheim, guarded by the frost giants, Haldor revealed. "Securing it will be a formidable task, for the giants do not part with their treasures lightly." The next day, under a dawn that painted the sky with strokes of fiery orange and icy blue, Freyja prepared for her departure. The village gathered, their faces a mixture of pride and worry, as they bid farewell to the young woman who had once been just another of their kin. Ira, wrapping Freyja in a cloak woven with protective runes, imparted her final piece of wisdom. "Remember, my child, the essence of our power lies not in dominion over the cold, but in harmony with it. Let the ice guide you, but never consume you. With a heavy heart, but an unbreakable spirit." Freyja set out from Fristgard, her steps steady despite the uncertainty that lay ahead. Haldor, now her guide and protector, led her through the whispering pines, each step taking her further from her past and deeper into her destiny. As they traveled, Haldor taught her to read the language of the runes, each symbol a key to deeper mysteries. Freyja absorbed his teachings eagerly, her mind sharp and quick. The runes spoke to her, not just as marks on stone, but as whispers of the gods, guiding her path. They journeyed for days, crossing frost-covered fields and navigating through dense, snow-laden forests. Each night, under the stars of the North sky, Freyja felt the cold grow not just around her, but within her, a sign that her powers were aligning with the forces that shaped the world. One evening, as the aurora borealis danced across the heavens in a symphony of green and violet, Freyja and Haldor discussed their strategy for entering Jotunheim. "Stealth will be our ally," Haldor advised. "The giants are mighty, but not unbeatable." Freyja nodded, her resolve as firm as the ice that now seemed a part of her very soul. "I am ready," she stated, her eyes mirroring the celestial lights above. The night deepened, and with it, Freyja's understanding of her role in this world-spanning saga. She was no longer just a girl of the frost, she was its champion, and she would rise, or fall, with its fate. As Freyja and Haldor neared the icy realm of Jotunheim, the air grew colder, and the landscape changed dramatically. Giant mountains loomed, their peaks hidden by clouds, and the ground was covered with a thick layer of snow that crunched under their feet. The stark white of the snow was occasionally broken by sharp outcroppings of dark rock, creating a stark contrast against the endless white. The entrance to Jotunheim was as formidable as the legends had described, guarded by towering statues of ancient Norse warriors, their stone faces stern and foreboding under their frost-covered helmets. As they approached, Haldor stopped, his gaze fixed on the figures. "These are not just statues," he whispered, "but the spirits of warriors past, watching over the realm of giants." Freyja, feeling the weight of their silent vigil, took a deep breath to steady her nerves. Her power responded to her call, a gentle aura of frost emanating from her, whispering assurances and strength. It was here, under the shadow of these ancient guardians, that Haldor decided to reveal more about the prophecy. Drawing a circle in the snow, he placed a small rune stone at each point, creating a sacred space. As he chanted in Old Norse, the stones began to glow softly, casting eerie lights on the snow. The prophecy speaks of a time when the balance of the world will falter, Haldor said as the glowing runes illuminated his face with a ghostly light. A time when fire and ice will clash, threatening to undo the fabric of reality. But it also speaks of a Frostweaver, one who can bridge the divide and restore balance. Freyja listened intently, her heart pounding with both fear and resolve. "And the Horn of Heimdall?" she asked, her voice steady despite the chill that crept into her bones. "It is said that the horn can awaken the gods themselves, calling them to rally against the forces of chaos," Haldor explained. "But it can also call forth the ancient creatures of the ice, allies who can aid in our quest." As the light from the runes faded, Freyja felt a newfound determination. "Then, let us not delay any longer," she said. "We have much to do, and the journey ahead is fraught with peril." They pressed on, their path winding through towering ice formations and vast, silent valleys that seemed untouched by time. The closer they got to the heart of Jotunheim, the more palpable the sense of impending confrontation became. After several days of travel, they reached the outskirts of the Forgotten Temple, where the horn was said to be kept. The temple was a massive structure of stone and ice, its walls carved with intricate runes and bas-reliefs depicting the epic battles of the gods. As they prepared to enter the temple, Freyja's powers tingled at the presence of deep magic. She knew they were being watched. Haldor sensed it too, and cautioned her to be ready for anything. Inside the temple, the air was thick with ancient magic. Freyja felt her powers respond to the environment, growing stronger and more attuned to the ice around her. The walls seemed to pulse with a life of their own, the ancient runes glowing faintly as they approached. Suddenly, a deep rumble echoed through the hallways, and a frost giant appeared, its massive form blocking their path. Its eyes glowed with a cold light, and its voice boomed like thunder. "Who dares to enter the sacred temple of the frost giants?" Freyja stepped forward, her fear replaced by a fierce courage. "I am Freyja, the Frostweaver, and I come to claim the Horn of Heimdall, as foretold by the prophecy." The giant regarded her for a moment, its gaze intense and assessing. Then, surprisingly, it stepped aside, its voice "Then proceed, but be warned, the path ahead is filled with trials that will test your very soul." With Haldor at her side, Freyja moved forward, ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead, her heart fortified by the knowledge that her destiny was hers to shape. Within the cold, echoing chambers of the Forgotten Temple, Freyja and Haldor tread softly, their footsteps muffled by the thick carpet of frost that blanketed the stone floor. The air was dense with an ancient power, a palpable presence that weighed heavily upon Freyja, testing her resolve with every breath she took. The temple's interior was a labyrinth of ice and stone, with corridors that twisted and turned in maddening patterns. Sculptures of Norse gods and mythical beasts adorned the walls, each carved with such precision that they seemed to watch over the intruders with icy disapproval. As they ventured deeper into the temple, they encountered puzzles and traps, each designed to protect the sacred Horn of Heimdall. Freyja found her powers instinctively responding to these challenges, manipulating the ice to reveal hidden mechanisms or to forge paths across treacherous gaps. With each success, her confidence grew, but so did the burden of her responsibility. In the heart of the temple, they found a vast chamber, its ceiling lost in shadows, where the Horn of Heimdall was enshrined. It rested upon an altar of ice, surrounded by a halo of ethereal light that danced like the aurora borealis. However, guarding the artifact was a being of myth and might, a frost wraith. Its form was a swirling mass of snow and wind, its eyes two piercing specks of midnight blue. Who seeks the horn of Heimdall? Its voice thunder, a sound that seemed to come from the very depths of the ice itself. I am Freyja, the Frostweaver, she replied, her voice echoing in the cavernous space. I seek the horn to fulfill the prophecy and prevent Ragnarok. The frost wraith circled her, its form shifting and changing, a blizzard personified. Many have sought the horn for purposes both noble and nefarious. Why should you be deemed worthy? Freyja took a deep breath, her gaze steady. I am of the Frostweavers, bound by blood and spirit to the ice. I do not seek power for myself, but to preserve the balance of this world. I am willing to prove my worth. Impressed by her resolve, the frost wraith paused, considering her words. Very well, Frostweaver, you shall face a trial of ice and spirit. If you succeed, the horn and the allegiance of the frost wraiths shall be yours. The trial was like nothing Freyja had ever faced. She had to harness her powers to control the very essence of ice, shaping it into forms that were both beautiful and functional, creating bridges over chasms of darkness and shields against storms of razor-sharp icicles. Each task demanded precision and a deep connection to her elemental powers. After what seemed like an eternity, Freyja stood before the frost wraith once again, her body weary but her spirit unbroken. I have faced your trial, she declared, her voice ringing with a newfound authority. The frost wraith bowed, its form dissipating into a gentle snowfall that caressed her skin. You have proven yourself worthy, Freyja. Frost, the horn is yours, and so is the allegiance of the frost wraiths. We shall stand with you when the final battle comes. With trembling hand, Freyja reached for the horn of Heimdall. As her fingers brushed against the ancient artifact, a surge of power flooded through her, a connection to the gods and the forces of nature that left her breathless. With the horn and the pact of ice secured, Freyja and Haldor prepared to leave the temple, their hearts lighter yet filled with the solemn knowledge of the battles to come. The journey back through the temple was uneventful, the puzzles and traps seemingly withdrawn, acknowledging her victory. As they stepped out of the temple, the sky above Jotunheim clear and starlit, Freyja felt a profound shift within her. She was no longer just a guardian of the frost. She was a leader in the fight against the impending darkness. With the frost wraiths at her side and the horn of Heimdall in her possession, she was ready to continue her quest, more determined than ever to thwart the looming shadow of Ragnarok. With the horn of Heimdall secured and the alliance of the frost wraiths promised, Freyja and Haldor left the solemn boundaries of Jotunheim, their hearts buoyed by success yet heavy with the understanding of the long road still ahead. As they traversed the snowy landscapes under the pale light of the moon, their path illuminated by the soft glow of the northern lights, they discussed their next destination. The next artifact we seek is the shield of Thor, Haldor explained, his voice a low rumble against the crisp night air. According to the ancient texts, it rests within the vaults of Midgard, hidden away in a place where thunder sleeps and the earth whispers. Freyja, her mind alight with visions of thunderous battles and divine might, nodded solemnly. And how do we find this place? She asked, her eyes reflecting the stars above. Haldor produced an old, worn map, its edges frayed, and its surface a tapestry of cryptic symbols and faded lines. We follow the path of the ancients, a route once used by the gods themselves when they walked among men. It is said to be fraught with challenges, each a test of strength and wisdom. As dawn broke, casting a golden glow over the snow-laden trees, Freyja felt the weight of her destiny more acutely than ever. With each step, she was walking not just through the land, but through the annals of history, retracing the steps of gods and heroes. Their journey took them through dense forests, where the trees stood like silent sentinels, their branches heavy with snow. Wildlife watched curiously from the shadows, and the air was filled with the crisp, clean scent of pine and frost. Freyja's connection with the elements deepened, her senses attuned to the subtle shifts in the wind and the soft murmurs of the earth. One evening, as they camped under the shelter of an ancient oak, Halldor shared tales of the gods' exploits, each story a thread in the rich tapestry of Norse mythology. Freyja listened intently, her imagination fired by tales of bravery, betrayal, and battles that shaped the world. The shield of Thor is not just a barrier against harm, Halldor said, stoking the campfire. It is a symbol of protection for all who dwell within Midgard. Securing it will not only aid us in our quest, but will also serve as a beacon of hope to those who fear the coming of Ragnarok. The next day, they encountered a tribe of nomadic warriors, descendants of the ancient Norse themselves. Recognizing the mark of the Frostweaver in Freyja, they welcomed her and Halldor with open arms, offering shelter and sharing their knowledge of the land. The vaults of Midgard are guarded by the earth spirits. The chieftain, a robust woman with eyes like flint, informed them. To gain entry, one must prove their worth not through battle, but through understanding and respect for the earth. Grateful for the guidance, Freyja and Halldor spent several days with the tribe, learning the ways of the earth spirits and the rituals that would grant them safe passage through the vaults. Freyja felt a deep kinship with these people, whose lives were so intricately linked with the land and its spirits. With new knowledge and renewed spirits, they bid farewell to the tribe and set out for the vaults of Midgard. The path led them through rugged terrain, over mountains that scraped the sky, and through valleys lush with the promise of spring. Each night, Freyja practiced the rituals taught by the tribe, her movements a dance of respect and harmony with the earth. Halldor watched, his usual stoic demeanor softened by pride in Freyja's growing mastery and understanding. At last, they arrived at the entrance to the vaults of Midgard, a cavern mouth hidden by an ancient thicket of thorn. Freyja stood before it, her heart steady, her mind clear. She was ready to face whatever trials awaited within, her resolve as unyielding as the ice she commanded. With a deep breath, she stepped forward, her path lit by the fire of her spirit and the ancient wisdom of the path of the ancients, ready to claim the shield of Thor and continue her quest to thwart the dark tide of Ragnarok. Chapter 2: The Journey Through Midgard. Freyja and Halldor, their spirits fortified by the successful retrieval of the Horn of Heimdall, continued their journey through the rugged landscapes of Midgard. The path ahead, known as the Frozen Crossroads, was said to be where destinies intertwine, and it was there that Freyja's journey took an unexpected turn. As they approached the crossroads, a place where ancient paths converged beneath the watchful gaze of stone sentinels carved by wind and frost, they encountered other travelers. These were not ordinary wanderers, but elemental wielders like Freyja, each drawn to the crossroads by forces unseen but deeply felt. The first to join them was a young man named Eric, a wielder of fire, whose bright, warm spirit contrasted sharply with the cool reserve of Freyja. His control over flame was matched only by his fiery passion for life and laughter. The paths of fire and ice are so different, yet here we stand, he said, a grin spreading across his face as he extended a hand in friendship. Next they met Lila, a gentle soul who commanded the wind. Her presence was as soothing as a summer breeze, and her wisdom ran deep, her eyes reflecting the vast skies she cherished. "The winds have whispered of your quest, Freyja." Lila spoke softly, her words carrying the weight of the clouds she watched over. "And they have carried me here to aid you." The last to arrive was Bjorn, a quiet man whose strength was as formidable as the earth he controlled. His steady, grounding presence brought a sense of peace and security to the group. "The earth speaks of upheaval, of changes that threaten to tear it apart," Bjorn said, his voice as deep as the roots of the ancient oaks. "I am here to ensure it remains whole." Together, this band of elemental wielders formed a new alliance, their powers diverse yet harmoniously intertwined. Freyja felt a sense of camaraderie and hope burgeoning among them, a unity forged by shared purpose and mutual respect. They spent the night at the crossroads, sharing stories of their homelands and their reasons for joining Freyja's quest. The fire crackled warmly, the wind sang softly, and the earth provided rest, while the frost added a shimmering beauty to their gathering. As dawn painted the sky with hues of pink and gold, the group set out, their spirits lifted by the light of the rising sun and the fire of their newly formed bonds. Freyja, leading them with the confidence of a true Frostweaver, felt the power of the elements flowing through her, each step forward a step closer to preventing Ragnarok. Their journey through Midgard would take them to places shrouded in mystery and fraught with peril, but with their combined strengths, they were more than ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead, each wielder a vital piece of the puzzle in the fight against the impending doom. The alliance of elemental wielders journeyed northward, their path winding through the craggy highlands of Midgard. As they traveled, the landscape changed from dense, frost-covered forests to the open, stark beauty of the tundra. It was here that the ruins of an ancient battleground lay hidden, a place where the echoes of Valhalla's fallen warriors still lingered in the silent air. Freyja and her companions reached the ruins at twilight, when the sky was a canvas of deep blues and purples, and the first stars began to twinkle in the heavens. The ruins were a collection of broken columns, shattered shields, and rusted swords, all blanketed by a thin layer of snow. It was a place of solemn beauty, where the past whispered through the remnants of war. As they stepped among the ruins, a chill deeper than the bite of winter air swept over them. It was not just the cold of the night, it was the presence of the fallen, their spirits bound to the land where they had fought and died. Freyja, with her connection to the frost, felt the whispers of these spirits as a tangible thing, brushing against her consciousness like the touch of icy fingers. "Hear us, Frostweaver," the whispers began, their voices a chorus of echoes blending sorrow and strength. "You tread upon sacred ground, where warriors of Valhalla fell not in vain, but in honor." The air shimmered faintly, and the spectral forms of the warriors began to materialize, their figures clad in the armor of old, their eyes alight with the fire of battles long past. They were not frightening, but awe-inspiring, their presence commanding respect and reverence. "We know of your quest, daughter of the frost," one of the warrior spirits spoke, stepping forward. His armor was adorned with intricate carvings of wolves and ravens. "We fought to protect Midgard from the shadows that sought to devour it. Now, that darkness grows once more, and it is your turn to wield the might of the old to safeguard the future." Freyja bowed her head in respect. "I seek the shield of Thor to unite the artifacts and prevent Ragnarok. Can you guide me to it?" The warrior nodded, his spectral form glowing brighter for a moment. "The shield lies hidden within the vault of storms, guarded by the tempest itself. Only one who commands the respect of the storm can retrieve it. You must prove your worth, not through conquest, but through understanding and reverence for the power you seek to wield." Lila, the wind wielder, stepped forward. The winds have carried stories of the vault of storms. It is a place of wild power, where the sky unleashes its fury. We will face this storm together. The warrior smiled, a ghostly expression of approval. The unity you forge today is the strength Midgard needs. Go forth with the blessings of Valhalla's fallen. We shall lend you our strength when the time comes. With that, the spectral warriors faded, their presence receding into the night as if they were but a dream. But the resolve they left in their wake was real, as palpable as the frost that crept over the ancient stones. Freyja and her companions set up camp among the ruins, their hearts heavy with the gravity of their task, yet lightened by the honor bestowed upon them. That night, under the watchful eyes of the stars, they shared tales of their own, each story weaving them closer together, their bonds strengthened by the shared commitment to their cause. As dawn broke, casting golden light over the snow-covered ruins, they prepared to leave, their destination now clear. The Vault of Storms awaited, and with it, the next step in their quest to save Midgard from the shadows of the end. As the first light of dawn stretched across the frozen landscape, Freyja and her allies broke camp, their spirits bolstered by the spectral blessings of Valhalla's fallen warriors. Their next destination, the Vault of Storms, was said to be located deep within the towering mountain ranges of Midgard, a place where the skies were forever tumultuous, and the thunder never ceased. The journey to the vault was arduous, taking them through steep, treacherous paths, shrouded in thick mists and buffeted by relentless winds. Lila, with her command over the wind, guided them through the gusts, her powers finding calm passages through the tempestuous currents. Her presence was a soothing balm against the harsh climb, her laughter lightening their burden. Midway through their ascent, the group encountered a clearing encircled by towering ice formations that gleamed like blue crystal under the sun. It was here that they faced the trial of the ice giants, guardians of the path to the Vault of Storms. As they stepped into the clearing, the ground trembled, and from the ice rose figures of immense size and fearsome countenance. Ice giants, their bodies crafted of snow and frost, their eyes a piercing, glacial blue. The giants spoke in tones that echoed like the cracking of glaciers. Who dares to seek the passage to the Vault of Storm? They boomed, their breath frosting the air. Freyja stepped forward, her stance I am Freyja, the Frostweaver, and with my allies, I seek the shield of Thor to prevent Ragnarok. We wish to pass. The lead giant, his stature rivaling the height of the ancient pines, regarded her with a frosty gaze. Many have come, seeking glory and power. All have failed to pass. You must prove your strength and your unity. Face us in combat, not of swords and shields, but of will and wit. The trial was unlike any battle Freyja and her allies had faced. The ice giants conjured barriers of ice and wind, creating puzzles that required not only brute force but cunning and cooperation. Bjorn's strength reshaped the ice, Eric's flames melted paths, and Lila's wind redirected the flow of the battle. Freyja, with her command over frost, parried the giant's own ice magic, turning it into an advantage for her team. Together, they moved as one, their powers interweaving to form strategies that were both beautiful and effective. With each challenge overcome, the ice giants nodded in approval, impressed by the display of unity and respect for each other's strengths. Finally, after what seemed like hours, the lead giant raised his hand, signaling the end of the trial. "You have proven yourselves worthy," he declared, his voice resonating with a deep rumble. "Go forth to the Vault of Storms with our blessing. The challenges within are greater still, but your unity has the strength of the ancient ice, enduring and unbreakable. Grateful for the giant's approval and guidance, Freyja and her companions bowed in respect, then continued their ascent, their hearts light with the joy of victory and the bonds of friendship that had grown even deeper. As they neared the Vault of Storms, the sky darkened and thunder rolled across the heavens like the drumbeats of war. Lightning forked through the clouds, illuminating the path to the vault, a path they now walked with the confidence of those blessed by the ancient guardians of Midgard. As Freyja and her group of elemental wielders drew closer to the Vault of Storms, the air around them thickened with electricity, the mounting energy of the storm crackling in the atmosphere. The path, once a clear mountain trail, now twisted into a realm where the very fabric of reality seemed infused with mystical power. In the shadow of an overhanging cliff, where the howl of the wind melded with the boom of thunder, they came upon an old, weather-worn tent, seemingly out of place in such a barren landscape. The flap of the tent opened as they approached, and out stepped a woman, her eyes as deep and fathomless as the night sky. Her hair, streaked with silver and black, fluttered around her face like a veil of shadows. "I have been waiting for you, Freyja of the Frost," the woman said, her voice carrying the melody of an unknown but hauntingly familiar tune. "I am Sigrun, the seer of the Northern Lights, keeper of futures yet to unfold." The group exchanged wary glances, but Freyja, sensing no threat from the seer, stepped forward. "You know of our quest?" she asked, her voice steady despite the uncertainty that flickered in her heart. Sigrun smiled, a cryptic curl of the lips that suggested both knowledge and mystery. "I know many things, child of ice. The threads of fate are woven around you and your companions, bright and dark, twisted and taut with the promise of what might come." She beckoned them into the tent, where the air was thick with the scent of pine and the earthy aroma of herbs. Inside, the space was larger than it appeared from the outside, lit by glowing orbs that floated in the air, casting soft lights over a circle of stones set in the center of the room. "Come, see what the fates might hold," Sigrun invited, gesturing to the stones. Each stone, Freya noticed, was inscribed with runes pulsing with a gentle light. As each member of the group touched a stone, visions flickered before their eyes, scenes of battles fierce and terrible, of worlds torn asunder by chaos, but also images of hope, of a verdant world renewed, its balance restored. Each vision was both a warning and a promise, dependent on the paths they chose to follow. "Your journey is pivotal, the keystone in the arch of the world's fate," Sigrun said as they each stepped back, shaken but resolute. "The Vault of Storms holds more than the shield of Thor. It holds a test of heart and spirit. You must face the storm not just as bearers of elements, but as harbingers of change." Freyja felt the weight of the seer's words settle upon her shoulders, heavier than the frost she wielded. "What must we do?" she asked, her voice a mere whisper against the storm's growing roar outside. "Embrace the storm," Sigrun replied, her eyes reflecting the swirling lights of her glowing orbs. "Let it fill you, let it test you. Beyond the tempest's rage lies the calm of understanding, the peace of acceptance. Your powers alone are not enough. It is your will, your courage, and your unity that will turn the tide." With a final, enigmatic smile, Sigrun faded into the shadows of the tent, leaving them alone with their thoughts and the echoing chorus of their visions. Steeled by the seer's prophecy, Freyja led her companions out of the tent, back into the storm's embrace. As they ascended the final stretch to the Vault of Storms, the thunderous sky seemed less a threat and more a challenge, a call to rise and prove themselves worthy of the legends they sought to forge. Upon leaving the mystic shelter of the seer Sigrun's tent, Freyja and her companions set their sights on the distant peaks that cradled Asgard, the realm of the gods. The journey was fraught with urgency, for the visions shared by Sigrun hinted at turmoil beyond their comprehension, a shadow that threatened even the divine. As they climbed the final ridge, the sky split with lightning, revealing Asgard not in its famed glory, but besieged by swirling shadows that gnawed at shimmering barriers. The sight struck a chord of dread in their heart, but also hardened their resolve. Asgard under siege, Eric muttered, his flames flickering in his palms, reflecting his fiery resolve. Freyja, gazing upon the scene, felt the cold within her swell, a frost to counter the consuming shadows. We cannot falter now. Whatever darkness seeks to engulf Asgard, we must aid in its defense. If we are to retrieve the shield of Thor and fulfill our quest. They descended into the valley leading to Asgard's gates, where the battle between light and darkness raged. The air was thick with the cries of celestial beings, clashing against a host of shadowy figures that seemed to spill from the very cracks of the world. Approaching the gates, they were met by a contingent of Asgard's defenders, celestial warriors, garbed in armor that glowed with an ethereal light, yet bore the scars of recent battles. The captain, a towering figure with a visage as stern as the mountain rock, raised his hand in halt. Who approaches Asgard in its hour of need? His voice boomed across the tumultuous wind. I am Freyja, the Frostweaver, and these are my allies. Freyja responded, her voice steady despite the chaos around them. We come seeking the shield of Thor to prevent Ragnarok. We offer our aid against these shadows. The captain's gaze, sharp as a hawk's, swept over them, pausing to assess their determined expressions and the elemental forces they commanded. After a moment that stretched like the calm before a storm, he nodded solemnly. Your powers are needed, indeed, he conceded. The shadows seek to weaken the very fabric of Asgard, a prelude to darker schemes. Join us in its defense and prove your worth to wield the shield of Thor. Without hesitation, Freyja and her companions joined the fray, their unique abilities weaving together to form a tapestry of resistance against the encroaching darkness. Eric's flames seared through shadows, Lilal's wind swept away the dark mists, Bjorn's strength shattered the shadowy tendrils, and Freyja's ice crystallized the air around the foes, stalling their advance. The battle raged, a storm of light and shadow, until slowly the tide began to turn. The defenders of Asgard, bolstered by the elemental prowess of their new allies, pushed the shadows back, inch by hard-fought inch. As the last of the shadows dissolved into nothingness, the captain approached them again, this time with a look of respect. Your valor has been proven, he said, his voice resonating with the power of thunder. Come, the shield of Thor awaits, and with it, the hope of turning the tide against the darkness that seeks to end all. Led by the captain, they were taken to the heart of Asgard, to a vault that pulsed with the power of the ancient gods. There, resting on a pedestal of storm clouds, was the shield of Thor, its surface swirling with tempests, contained within its bounds. Freyja reached out, her hand trembling with the weight of her destiny, and as her fingers touched the shield, a surge of power coursed through her, a storm of might and purpose that filled her soul with thunderous resolve. With the shield secured, they knew their journey was far from over, but the victory at Asgard had given them more than just another artifact. It had given them hope and the strength to continue their quest to save Midgard and all the realms from the looming shadow of Ragnarok. With the shield of Thor now, Among their arsenal, Freyja and her companions left the celestial gates of Asgard, the echoes of their recent battle still resounding in their ears. The sky above was clearer, the dark shroud pushed back by their collective might, yet the path ahead remained veiled in uncertainty. As they made camp at the edge of the Asgardian valley, under the protective light of the stars, the air was filled with a palpable sense of camaraderie and a renewed sense of purpose. They gathered around the crackling fire, the shield of Thor resting nearby, its surface still thrumming with contained storms. With Asgard's shadow waned for now, we must consider our next steps carefully, Freyja began, her gaze passing over each of her allies. The artifacts we've gathered are not merely keys to prevent Ragnarok. They are symbols of the unity we must embody to face the darkness ahead. Eric, his flame subdued into a warm glow, nodded in agreement. The fire in my veins speaks of passion and destruction, but tempered by the ice of your resolve, Freyja, it finds purpose. We must each embrace our elements not as singular forces, but as parts of a greater whole. Lilo, the gentle breeze playing with her hair, added, "The winds have carried tales of a coming storm greater than any we have faced. It will not be by strength alone that we prevail, but by the bonds we forge and the harmony we achieve." Bjorn, solid and reassuring as the earth itself, placed his large, rough hands on the ground. The earth supports all, bears the weight of the world. So must we support each other, bearing together the burden of this quest. Freyja felt the truth of their words resonate within her, a symphony of elements that found its melody in their shared resolve. Then, let us form an alliance, not just of purpose, but of soul and spirit. Let our elements bind, creating a force that can withstand the shadows. They agreed, each placing a hand in the center of their circle, over the shield of Thor. As their hands touched, a light emanated from the shield, weaving around their fingers, a visible manifestation of their unity. The elements within them responded, fire, air, earth, and ice, spiraling into a dance of power and promise. From the shield rose a spectral image of Thor himself, his figure imposing, his eyes alight with the storms of yore. "Well done, brave warriors," Thor's voice thundered, harmonizing with the crackle of the fire. "You have shown the potential to transcend the pettiness that often plagues those with power. Continue on this path, and you might yet save the worlds." As the vision faded, the group felt a surge of empowerment, a blessing from the god of thunder that fortified their resolve. "We should head towards Jotunheim," Freya suggested, her voice steady with newfound authority. "The giants hold the last artifact, and it will be our greatest challenge yet." They discussed strategies deep into the night, each contributing insights unique to their command over their respective elements. Plans were formed for approaching the land of the giants, for navigating its treacherous territories, and for facing whatever guardians might stand between them and their goal. When dawn painted the sky with strokes of pink and gold, the alliance of the elements was ready. They broke camp with a synchronized rhythm, each movement reflecting their unity. As they set off towards Jotunheim, the horizon ahead seemed less daunting, the weight of destiny less a burden, and more a challenge they were destined to overcome. Together, they walked, a band of warriors bound by purpose and elemental might, their hearts beating as one with the enduring drum of the world. The path ahead would test them, but it would also define them, not just as heroes of a story, but as architects of the future. Chapter 3: The Twilight of the Gods, the Alliance of the Elements, forged under the protective gaze of the Asgardian gods, and tested by the trials of their quest, approached the towering, frost-bitten gates of Jotunheim, the land of the giants, shrouded in a perpetual mist and cloaked in a silence that spoke of ancient power, loomed before them like a fortress carved from the very essence of winter. Freyja, leading the group, felt the cold not just around her, but within, a chill that was both a reminder of her powers and a herald of the challenges to come. As they neared the gates, the ground trembled underfoot, and the air grew thick with the heavy breath of Titan. "The giants will not welcome us lightly," Haldor warned, his voice a low rumble that matched the stirring ground. "Their strength is matched only by their fervor to protect the secrets they hold." Eric, with flames dancing lightly on his fingertips, added, "Then let us hope they see reason in our cause. The fire of my spirit is ready, but I would rather not battle against such odds." As if in answer to their resolve, the gates creaked open, revealing a vast courtyard surrounded by towering stone walls, each block etched with runes of protection and strength. Within the courtyard stood the giants, massive beings whose eyes glowed with the cold light of the stars. The lead giant, whose helm was adorned with carvings of the ancient Jotun sagas, stepped forward. His voice was like thunder rolling across a frozen lake. "I am Grimnir, guardian of the Jotunheim Gate. State your purpose, small ones, for you tread a sacred ground." Freyja stepped forward, her presence commanding despite her relatively small stature. "I am Freyja, known as the Frostweaver. With my allies, I seek the final artifact to prevent Ragnarok, the doom of all realms. We come with respect, seeking your wisdom and your aid." Grimnir's icy gaze swept over them, lingering on the symbols of their unity. The elements they wielded not just as weapons, but as extensions of their will. "Many have come seeking our treasures for less noble causes," he rumbled. "Why should we believe your intentions to be true?" Before Freyja could respond, Layla, her voice as calm as a gentle breeze, spoke, "Because we come not for conquest, but for preservation. The winds carry stories of destruction, but also of hope. We choose to believe in the latter, moved by their sincerity and the evident harmony between them." Grimnir nodded slowly. "Very well, Frostweaver and ally, you shall have your chance. But know this, the artifact you seek is guarded by the oldest of our kind, the primordial giants, from whom the first frost was born. To reach it, you must prove your worth not through battle, but through wisdom and understanding of the ancient ways." The trial set before them was unlike any other they had faced. They were led to a great hall, where the walls themselves seemed to pulse with the deep cold of ages past. Here, the primordial giants awaited, their forms barely distinguishable from the ice that encased them. Each giant posed a riddle, questions forged from the dawn of time and resonating with the power of the natural world. Freyja and her companions drew upon their deep well of knowledge, each question a key that unlocked further paths within the labyrinthine hall. As they answered each riddle, the ice around the giants melted away, not from heat but from understanding, a warmth that comes from respect and recognition of one's place in the grand tapestry of existence. Finally, standing before the eldest of the giants, a being whose presence seemed as old as the stars themselves, they received the final question. "What is the force that binds all things, which wars cannot conquer, nor time erode?" With a collective certainty, Freyja responded, "Unity, the force that we embody, which brings together fire, air, earth, and ice, in the hope for a future where all can thrive." The ancient giant nodded, a gesture that felt like the shifting of tectonic plates. "Wise you are, Frostweaver. The artifact, the crown of ages, is yours. Maya, I serve you well in the twilight of the gods. With the crown of ages in hand, they left Jotunheim, not as intruders but as honored guests, their alliance strengthened and their mission clear. The siege had ended not with the clash of weapons, but with the meeting of minds, proving that even in the darkest of times, understanding and unity could illuminate the path forward. With the crown of ages secured and their spirits uplifted by the success at Jotunheim, Freyja and her alliance made haste towards the legendary plains of Vigrid, where prophecy foretold the final confrontation would unfold. The winds of destiny pushed them forward, carrying whispers of an impending battle that could reshape the fate of all realms. As they approached Vigrid, the atmosphere thickened with a palpable tension, a prelude to the legendary clash foreseen by the seers. The skies darkened, not with clouds but with the wings of the Valkyries, the fierce warrior maidens of Odin, descending in a breathtaking vortex of power and grace. Among them was Brynhildr, the leader of the Valkyries, whose presence was as commanding as it was radiant. She landed before Freyja and her companions, her armor gleaming with the light of 1,000 battles. "Freya, Frostweaver, your journey has been watched by the Allfather himself," Brynhildr declared, her voice resonating with the authority of Valhalla. "Now, as the shadows gather for their final assault, we Valkyries make our stand with you." Freyja, moved by the Valkyries' pledge, bowed deeply. "Your aid is as welcomed as the spring after a harsh winter, Brynhildr. Together, we shall turn back the tide of darkness that seeks to engulf the worlds." The Valkyries joined their circle, and together, they strategized the defense of Vigrid. The plains, vast and unyielding, would serve as the stage for a battle of epic proportions, where the combined forces of Asgard and the elemental wielders would face the amassed legions of darkness, led by the trickster god Loki and his allies. As the enemy forces approached, a sea of malice against the shores of fate, the air was filled with the clash of steel, the cries of the valiant, and the roar of elemental powers unleashed in full fury. Freyja and her companions stood firm, the crown of ages shining atop her brow, a beacon of hope and unity amidst the chaos. Bijan summoned the strength of the earth to raise barriers against the advancing foes. Eric's flames danced devastatingly through the ranks of shadow creatures, and Layla's winds howled, disorienting the enemy and providing cover for their allies. Freyja, with the power of the crown, channeled the ancient might of the ice, freezing the shadows in their tracks, her control more precise and potent than ever before. The Valkyries, fierce and fearless, dove into the fray, their swords slicing through darkness, their cries rallying the spirits of all who fought beside them. Brynhildr, wielding her sword named Fate Cleaver, fought at Freyja's side, an unstoppable force of valor and might. But as the battle waged, it became clear that the enemy was relentless, their numbers seemingly inexhaustible. Freyja, amidst the tumult, felt a moment of despair. How could they hope to prevail against such odds? It was then that Brynhildr, sensing her allies' faltering spirit, shouted over the din, "Remember, Freyja, in unity lies strength. Your power is not just in the frost you wield, but in the bonds you forged. Stand firm, for we are with you." Bolstered by Brynhildr's words, Freyja rallied, her voice cutting through the darkness. "Together, we stand," she called, and the alliance responded, their powers converging in a spectacular display of light and energy that pushed back against the darkness. As the battle reached its zenith, the shadows began to wane, their advance stymied by the united front of warriors, both mortal and divine. The last stand of the Valkyries was not just a battle. It was a testament to the power of unity over division, of light over darkness. With the enemy in retreat, Vigrid was left scarred but unconquered, a field of honor where the valiant had stood against the impossible. The Alliance, though weary, stood victorious, their hearts united by a battle that had tested and proven their mettle. After the grueling battle on the plains of Vigrid, Freyja and her allies encamped amidst the remnants of their triumph, tending to their wounds and recounting tales of valor. The sky was painted with the soft colors of dawn, a promise of renewal after the darkness. Yet, for Freyja, the victory was overshadowed by a growing unease, a chill within her heart that went deeper than any frost she could summon. As they rested, a lone figure approached the camp, a wanderer cloaked in a robe of deep midnight blue, his face obscured by a hood. His presence was silent as falling snow, his approach unnoticed until he stood before Freyja. "Frostweaver," he intoned, his voice a whisper, yet carrying an undeniable weight. "Your journey nears its end, but a greater challenge awaits you, one that will test not your strength, but the very essence of your heart." Freyja regarded the mysterious figure, her intuition sensing the gravity of his words. "Who are you, and what challenge do you speak of?" she demanded, her tone wary yet firm. "I am a messenger of the fates, sent to guide those who stand at the crossroads of destiny," the figure revealed, lowering his hood to reveal eyes that shimmered like starlight. "The final artifact you seek, the crystal of eternal winter, is bound by a spell that can only be broken by one who has mastered not only the ice without, but the ice within." Freyja's brow furrowed, confusion mingling with the ice within. "What do you mean?" "The crystal is encased in a heart of ice, a reflection of its bearer's deepest fears and doubts. To claim it, you must confront those parts of yourself, the shadows you've kept hidden beneath the frost." Understanding dawned on Freyja, her heart heavy with the realization of the trial ahead. The shadows of doubt and fear had indeed lingered within her, cloaked in the chill of her powers. She had mastered the frost that danced at her fingertips, but the frost that gripped her heart was a foe she had yet to face. Determined to see her quest through to the end, Freyja bid farewell to her companions, setting forth alone towards the ancient glacier where the crystal of eternal winter was said to reside. The journey was a solitary one, each step taking her deeper into her own thoughts, her own fears. As she reached the glacier, the air around her crackled with the cold of unspoken truths. The heart of ice awaited her in the depths of the frozen labyrinth, its surface mirroring not just her image, but her soul. Stepping forward, Freyja placed her hands on the crystal surface, her breath visible in the frigid air, her spirit bracing for the confrontation. Visions assaulted her, memories of her doubts, her fears of failing her people, her terror of losing those she loved, and her dread of the loneliness that her powers might forever impose upon her. With each vision, the ice around the crystal grew thicker, its chill seeping into her bones. But Freyja, her resolve fortified by the battles she had fought, the alliances she had formed, and the lives she had touched, pushed back against the cold. "I am Freyja, the Frostweaver," she declared, her voice echoing in the icy halls. "My heart might hold frost, but it also holds fire, the warmth of love, of friendship, of courage." Slowly, the ice began to melt, not from any flame, but from the warmth of her own inner light. As the barriers dissolved, the crystal of eternal winter emerged, freed from its prison of doubt and fear. Freyja grasped the crystal, its cool touch a balm to her spirit, a symbol of her triumph, not only over the external foes, but over the internal ones as well. With the crystal secured, Freyja returned to her companions, her heart lighter, her steps surer. She had faced the ice within her heart and emerged stronger, ready to face whatever the future might hold. Upon her return to the camp, Freyja found her allies preparing for the imminent confrontation that would decide the fate of all realms. The sky was streaked with ominous hues, signaling the approach of Ragnarok. Thunder rolled across the heavens, and the air was thick with the tension of impending doom. As they gathered, the Alliance watched in horror as the horizon darkened, a shadow spreading across the land. At its heart was Loki, the trickster god, his form shifting between man and mist, his laughter echoing like the clatter of bones. Behind him, the forces of chaos amassed, a legion of creatures born of nightmare and wrath. Loki, Freyja called out, stepping forward with the crown of ages set upon her brow and the crystal of eternal winter clasped tightly in her hand. This ends now. We will not allow you to unravel the threads of fate. Loki's gaze turned towards her, a smirk playing across his lips. The Frostweaver and her merry band. You think you can thwart the inevitable? Ragnarok cannot be stopped, only embraced. The ground trembled beneath their feet as the forces of chaos advanced. Freyja felt the weight of her destiny like never before, but the fear that once might have paralyzed her was gone, burned away by the trials she had endured and the bonds she had forged. With a determined glance at her companion, she raised the crystal high. Together, she Haralion, we stand against the darkness. The battle that ensued was like none other. The elements themselves roared and clashed, mirroring the conflict of gods and mortals. Eric's flames met the ice summoned by Loki, creating steam that obscured the battlefield. Lila's winds tore through the ranks of the enemy, while Bjorn's strength shattered the earth under the feet of their foes. Above them, the Valkyries swooped and dived, their cries piercing the chaos. Freyja, at the center of the storm, focused her power through the crystal of eternal winter. The artifact, now unbound from its icy prison, unleashed a torrent of pure, crystalline energy. It swirled around her, a whirlwind of frost that cooled even the fires of Ragnarok. As the battle reached its crescendo, Loki, realizing his plans were unraveling, unleashed his final gambit. He summoned a vortex of dark energy, aiming to tear the veil between the worlds and bring about the destruction he so craved. Freyja, sensing the shift in the tide, knew what she must do. With a cry that melded determination with a plea to the ancient powers, she thrust the crystal into the heart of the vortex. The impact was like the shattering of worlds, a blinding explosion of light and shadow. When the light faded, the battlefield fell silent. The forces of chaos were scattered, their will broken without the dark energy to sustain them. Loki was gone, his fate unknown, lost to the void he had sought to wield. The allies gathered, weary but unbroken, around Freyja. The crystal of eternal winter had fractured, its power spent, but its sacrifice had not been in vain. Ragnarok was averted, the balance restored. We have won, Freyja said, her voice a soft whisper carried by the wind. But we must remain. The darkness might rise again, and we must be ready to stand against it. Together, as the sun broke through the lingering clouds, casting light upon the scarred land, a new dawn was heralded. Freyja and her companions, bound by their trials and triumphs, knew that their journey was not over, but they faced the future with hope and the unyielding strength of unity. In the aftermath of the battle that had almost brought about Ragnarok, the land lay wounded, its beauty marred by the scars of chaos and conflict. As the alliance of elements gathered, their hearts heavy with the cost of their victory, Freyja stood amidst the devastation, the crown of ages still upon her brow, its luster dimmed but not extinguished. Her companions watched as she walked slowly across the battlefield, her steps deliberate, her face serene yet sorrowful. With each step, the frost from her fingertips touched the ravaged earth, the broken shields, the fallen weapons, not to freeze, but to heal. Freyja's power, so long mastered for battle, now took on a new form. Where her fingers traced, green sprouts emerged from the charred soil, flowers bloomed in the craters left by fallen meteors, and the air filled with the crisp scent of new beginnings. The frost that had once heralded her as a warrior now crowned her as a healer, a restorer of balance. The elemental wielders joined her, lending their powers to the task. Eric's flames, so often used to destroy, now brought warmth to the cold, reviving the frozen and giving light to the dark corners. Lila's winds, which had roared with the fury of storms, now whispered life into the seeds that Freyja planted, spreading hope like pollen on the breeze. Bjorn's strength, which had shattered earth and stone, now lifted the fallen trees, setting them upright as sentinels of the forest reborn. As they worked, the landscape transformed before their eyes, a tapestry of color weaving across the fabric of desolation. The people of the nearby villages, who had fled the coming of Ragnarok, returned to witness the miracle wrought by the Frostweaver and her allies. Their faces, once etched with fear, now mirrored the sky's newfound light, their eyes reflecting the rebirth of their land. Word of Freyja's deed spread like wildfire, not through heralds or songs, but through the whisper of the wind, the babble of the streams, and the rustling of the leaves. Creatures of all kinds, from the smallest insect to the majestic stags, came to the restored fields, their presence a testament to the harmony that now thrived. As the sun set, casting long shadows over the land, now bursting with life, Freyja gathered her companions. Today, we fought not just to prevent an end, but to begin anew, she said, her voice carrying the weight of wisdom, earned through sacrifice and struggle. Let this place stand as a reminder of what we can achieve when we stand together, not as wielders of destruction, but as bearers of creation. Her companions, moved by her words, pledged to continue this legacy, each in their own realms, each in their own realms, each in their own way. The alliance of the elements, once formed to combat a threat, now stood as a covenant of restoration. As night fell, the stars shone brighter than they had in centuries, their light a silent benediction over the world below. Freya, looking up at the constellations, felt a peace she had never known. The frost within her heart, once a source of fear, was now a wellspring of hope. The miracle of the Frostweaver, as it came to be known, was not just the healing of the land, but the mending of hearts and the bridging of worlds. Freya's legacy would be carried on the winds, flowing in the waters, and rooted in the earth, a legacy of peace forged by the power of unity. As the first light of the new dawn touched the rejuvenated land, Freyja stood upon a gentle hill overlooking the valley that had witnessed the rebirth of nature and the harmony of the realms. The air was fresh, filled with the promise of a peaceful future, and the horizon glowed with the warmth of a sun reborn from the darkness of near destruction. Her companions gathered around her, their faces lit by the golden light, their eyes reflecting the hope that had been restored. In this moment, Freyja felt the weight of her responsibilities not as a burden, but as a calling to continue guiding not just the elements, but the hearts of those she led. As they watched the sunrise, a delegation from Asgard arrived, led by Odin himself, his presence as commanding as the sky. The Allfather approached Freyja, his one eye piercing in its wisdom. Freya, Frostweaver, your deeds have echoed through the 9 realms, he began, his voice deep and resonant. You have prevented Ragnarok, not through conquest, but through unity and healing. We offer you a place among us in Asgard, to continue your work from the halls of the gods. Freyja listened, her heart torn. The honor was great, a dream that any warrior might aspire to. Yet, as she glanced back at the lush valley, at the people returning to their homes with smiles of genuine joy, she knew where her heart truly belonged. She turned to face Odin, her resolve clear in her calm, steady gaze. Great Odin, ruler of Asgard, your offer I hold in high esteem, but my place is here, among the people of Midgard, the land that I love. I wish to remain on Earth, to ensure that the peace and beauty we have fought so hard to restore endures. Odin regarded her for a long silent moment, then nodded, a smile breaking across his stoic face. Very well, Freyja of the Frost, your choice is wise and noble, as I have come to expect. Let it be known that, though you choose to remain on Midgard, the gates of Asgard will always be open to you, and the title of a goddess awaits, should you ever wish to claim it. With a final nod, Odin and his retinue departed, leaving Freyja with her companions, who murmured their approval and support of her decision. Eric clapped her on the back with a grin. Layla's smile was as gentle as the breeze, and Bjorn's nod was as solid as the earth itself. Together, they descended the hill to join the people in the valley. Festivities had begun, with music that floated through the air like laughter, and dances that painted the ground with the joy of living. Freyja joined in, her heart light, her spirits high. As the day wore on, she spoke to the people, not as a ruler, but as a guardian. Let this day mark a new beginning for all of us, she declared. Let us build together, learn from each other, and live as one community, united not by fear, but by hope. The people cheered, their voices a chorus that rose to the skies, a song of a new dawn. That night, as Freyja looked up at the stars, now familiar constellations that watched over the world, she felt a profound peace. The Frostweaver had woven her miracle not with magic alone, but with the love and courage of a heart unbound. As the stars twinkled above, they seemed to whisper a promise of enduring peace, of challenges met with courage, and of a world forever changed by the miracle of unity. Freyja, the Frostweaver, had indeed become a legend, not just in the tales of heroes, but in the hearts of all who believed in the power of a new dawn.